It's gonna be all right. I'm a little late, but it's gonna be all right. It's the day and we got night. Everything will be okay. We do this thing I like it every day. What you say? It's the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. My name is O, aka Sun 752. And you know how we do today. I'm going to talk to you for like an hour and a half until we through. And today on the Urban Therapy with Sun Show, we are talking about the way that you treat children and the elderly. The way that you treat children and the elderly. What does it say about you? If you notice, you probably noticed a lot of some similarities between the way that a person deals with children and the way that they deal with the elderly. You know what I mean? I know that I've seen some similarities, and I'm going to ask you if you see it too. And I'm glad that you all just came on through. Everything is going to be all right with me and you. Everything is going to be okay. We do this thing in our own way. What you say? Stay for like an hour and a half, and we going to wash this thing up just like a bath or a shower for an hour and a half. Let's do it, yo. I'm going to flow like fluid, and you into it, yo. And just since you're so on this tip, we'll do this thing. Skip the no. Cut it. No, everything's good. What's going on? Cal Chamberlain, mi favorita. It's always great to really see ya. My brother from another mother, Norris Hill. It's always good to see you coming through, relax and chill. Auntie Gary, right? Morning, noon, and night. It's always good to have my peoples going right in your sight. Yeah. So what we doing, man? Stacey White holding it down for the day. I'm always so glad to see you down with me. Yeah. So, the way that you treat children and the elderly, what does it say about you? The way that you treat children and the elderly. Well, if you're probably impatient and short with children, then you're probably going to be short and impatient with the elderly. Now, we know that all elderly are not cut from the same cloth. They're not all the same age. They're not all in the same health. They haven't had all the same experiences. And that's the same with children. But one thing you will notice with children and the elderly, both of them have a way of depending on others in order for them to get comfortable and for them to learn some things. You know what I mean? Well, with the elderly, they probably have had a whole lifetime of teaching other people. But as their health starts to deteriorate over time, then they may depend on other people to help them get around and help them to get comfortable and to help them to learn about other ways of how to keep themselves healthy, wealthy, and wise. I'm telling you the truth, and I'm not telling you no lies. You'll also maybe notice, that people who exploit children for their own interests or maybe even money also try to do the same thing with the elderly. And one thing that you'll find consistently with people who try to abuse either one is that they think that they can get away with it because they think that they have manipulated both of them because they don't think that they know any better. Do you understand? Do you underdig? Do you feel me? Let's get into it. Right now, y'all. Let's see. It's the Urban Therapy with Sun Show, Sun 752, and this is the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. We do this every single Saturday from 11 a.m. till around 12:30-ish. And the reason that we say 12:30-ish is because sometimes it gets so heated that we just have to do a little OT on a Saturday. And it is Saturday, baby. And it's a nice looking one. The temperature is a little subpar for a May spring day. But, it's going to go up a little bit, just enough for you to wear your little hoodie, but not have to wear a little jacket. You might not want to go out with the top down, but for all y'all show-offs out there who just bought your drop tops, do your thing. Ain't nobody going to be mad at you. They're going to be, bigging you up like, yo, get that sun, baby, and shine that light, baby. So it's all good. Saturday morning, took a stretch up. I'm on yawning. This is the show where adults come out and play with other adults. We laugh, we cry, we argue, fuss, and fight, go back and forth with each other, bust it up all crazy. We play on the monkey bars and the swings and push each other up the sliding board, play in the sandbox. the merry-go-round and all of that kind of stuff. Do you understand? Do you know what I'm talking about? Yes, you do. Now we take an introspective look into our own personality to try to see how we fit into this universe and project ourselves into this thing called life. How does it go? We try to know ourselves a little better, yo. I'm your host, Son 752, aka Omar with the. And if you can't say Omar with the, well, then you just say Omar with the R. It is the Urban Therapy with Son show on this Saturday, and I'm feeling like a real man should. And I hope that you're feeling like a real man should too. I'm gonna tell you one thing: these allergies kicking ass. Allergies are kicking ass. You go outside and your car is all yellow or green. Y'all know what I mean. If you think that shit is covering your windows, you think it's not going in your lungs, you know that you got a lot to learn, and sneezing and coughing is probably your turn. Yo, you're not sick. Your allergies are making you feel that way. See, yeah, my allergies are putting in work today. As a matter of fact, I meant to take a peel. Today. Messed around and got busy and forgot to take the peel. But after the show, I probably have to dump the pill. I know yesterday when I was outside, I had on my mask and everything. I'm out there coughing because drinking the colon ream, I think a piece of one of the vegetables must have got on that little dangly thing. The little dangly thing in the back. And I'm all coughing, trying to get it off of there, because when it's irritated, when that little dangly thing is irritated, then it makes you cough, because it doesn't want any obstructions on it. It doesn't want anything messing around with it. So I was about to go into a store. I'm like, I can't go in the store coughing all crazy like that, even with the mask on. People going to be like, yo, this boy got the Rona. This boy got the Rona. And I'm like, I ain't gotten me no Rona. So allergy flare-ups is something we got to deal with. Hay fever right now, something you got to deal with. Dealing with the Rona is something you got to deal with. People having colds is something you got to deal with. Having the flu is still something you got to deal with. Not feeling all that well is something you got to deal with. Taking antihistamines is something you got to deal with. We're going to deal with. Let me know how you feeling. All right, so let's get it popping. How are y'all feeling today? I'm feeling great. Carol Chamberlain says, I'm driving, but I'm listening. Where you going? It's early, 11:22 in the morning. Where you going? You ain't tell me you was going to. Don't leave the state. You probably already in Jersey. Don't leave the state. You know what I mean? Don't be going too far. Don't go too far. You know what I'm saying? In your whole life, don't go too far. Okay. So the way that you treat children and the elderly, what does it say about you? What do you think it says about you? Honestly, when you talk about the children, when you talk about children and the elderly, you're talking about people, and you're talking about important people. You're talking about impressionable people. And you're also talking about people that require attention, and who also get a lot of attention just for being who they are. We know that children need attention. They need time. They need attention. They need structure. They need love. They need affection. They need the things that will help them to learn and to grow and to flourish and to become, to grow into the adults that will be really productive and accessible and good people in society, in the community. And we only have a certain amount of years as someone is a child to make sure that we get them on the path of pure righteousness, or at least good enoughness. Sometimes you can't reach righteousness, so sometimes you gotta, incorporate a little leftiousness and a little. That's good enough for usishness. That's good enough for usishness, and that's good enough for nowness. Carol says, I just left the hairdressers. Oh, man. Mother's Day tomorrow. Somebody trying to get cute. And it's not up for dispute. She's a pretty lady. And it sounds to me like she trying to get a little prettier. You trying to cheat on your man, something like that, Carol? You know he's an ex-cop. I'm sure I don't have to tell you that he's an ex-cop. You know, might do a little investigation. You better check your car for low jack or something like that. You know what I mean? I'm warning you. What's going on, Sucre, JTX, Sucre, Jetois, all up in the house. Sucre, Jetois. Good to see me some you. So yeah, man, you know, it's a little chilly outside. People want to do a lot of last minute mama shopping today. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to everybody who's celebrating Mother's Day tomorrow. Shout out to those of us who have lost their moms. You know, I know that tomorrow can be a very emotional day. My heart goes out to you. Shout out to you. One love to you. But just remember that wherever your mother is, as they have passed on, they're still here. They're still here with us in spirit. They have become our angels. They are looking over us, serving us, protecting us, guiding us. And they are right there. Do not hesitate to talk to them. Do not hesitate to ask them for advice. Do not hesitate to ask them for help when you need it. They will provide it. They may not do it in the time frame that you think that you need it done, but believe me, by the weight of the spirit, it shall be done. It shall be done. Shout out to all of the angelic mothers that are out there watching over us, guiding us, delivering us from evil, protecting us from the bad and the ugly. All right, so we're talking about the way that you treat children and the elderly. I mean, when you really think about the way that some people deal with children, there are people out here who really love children. There just are. There are people out here who love children. You know, children are intriguing to a lot of people because it helps them to stay youthful. Children will introduce you to all of the new things that are going on out here because everything that they come in contact is full of wonder. You know, everything is new for them. So things that are old to you, things that are played out to you are brand new to them. And they're excited about it. Like, yo, check out this new thing. Remember when you was younger and you know, you was getting your little dance steps on and your mom and your dad, they would come through and be like, oh, I know that dance. That ain't nothing but the blah, blah, blah. And you be like, oh, you don't know this dance. This dance just came out. And then your parents would do that dance. And you'd be like, what the hell? You just learned how to do this dance. And they'd be like, no, that dance been out. They just renamed it. And I see you doing, I don't know if you making up that little extra part that you doing, but yeah. That wasn't part of the original dance. They just added that on. Maybe that's how they came to change the name. So children bring things like that, new forms of music. You know, the old heads be like, yeah, this kind of new, but it's not brand new. Like, you know, back in the day, I heard something similar to this. And sometimes they might go get you the record. And you'd be like, well, I'll be damned. It does sound like this. Or nowadays, with sampling, it may be the exact song because the music was sampled from a record that came out back in the day, a record that came out previously. So it's like, oh, different rhymes, different lyrics, but it's the same music. And sometimes you might find that you like the old version better than you like the new version. You know what I mean? But yeah, some people like to be around children because of that kind of thing. because of all of the new wonder, because of all of the just the, how do you put it, all of the discovery, the new discovery that children bring to the table. You know what I mean? And they're so excited, they're so intrigued, they're so interested in the things that they learn, and they're interested in the things that you'll teach them too. So people who really love children, you'll see them try to interact with children a lot. Now, we're not talking about people who want to be around children because in order to abuse them, in order to hurt them, in order to manipulate them. We'll get into all that negativity in a minute. But when we're talking about children, in terms of the good stuff, the nice stuff, the wonder, the discovery, the learning process, the beginning of that learning process and everything that it brings, some people really just love to be around that. You know what I mean? It helps them to feel young and to remember how it was when they grew up. You know what the word I'm looking for probably is? Innocence. That innocence. People associate children with innocence. Yeah. Yeah. And that innocence can take you back to a better time in your life. Remember when you were innocent, when you really didn't know. You may have cared, but you didn't know. Back to a time when you looked at the world a different way, before the harsh realities of the world came to visit you. Before certain things were rammed down your throat and inputted into you to the point where you wish you could go back to when you didn't know. There is innocence in ignorance. There's a lot of innocence in ignorance. And you may know some people who try to remain ignorant because learning makes you have to change. And change is hard for some people. So you'll find that people who deal with children, some people who love to deal with children, they are associated with that innocence of ignorance. So now the funny thing is, if you think about it, the elderly are looked at as the same way. A lot of people be thinking that old men and old women don't know things. It takes us back to being children. We're full-fledged adults. But we're thinking that the elderly don't know certain things. Street things. Whatever. We think that they don't know them because, this stuff is brand new. Well, you'd be surprised at what the elderly know. You'd be surprised at what 70-year-olds, 80-year-olds, and whoever knows, because they've been through way more than you probably have. They went through all of the Jim Crow and all of the outright racism. They navigated and manipulated their way through all of that and survived. Watched a lot of their peers perish. They watched the parade. They may have conducted the parade. You think about somebody that's 80 years old. If someone is 80 years old, they have lived through World War I. I'm sorry. They've lived through World War II. They've lived through Korea. They've lived through Vietnam. They've lived through when we had exercises in Beirut. They lived through Desert Storm. They lived through Operation Iraqi Freedom and Afghanistan, and they're still living through it. And in them going through those experiences, living those things out in real time, witnessing them, you'll notice that they know about the changes that have taken place. For example, people who were kids in the 80s, especially if you were a teenager in the 80s, you may feel like, well, you actually are the ones who developed hip hop. You saw hip hop coming to fruition. That's you right there. Queen Monica, what's going on, Queen Monica? Thanks for coming on through. It's always great to see you. So yeah, we created hip hop. They saw us create hip hop. They were our parents in the 80s. When they were young, they were young in their 60s and their 70s. So they created those who created it for us. So what I'm saying is that because we see the ignorance and the innocence of children, we also think that we see that in the elderly. We don't know that the elderly have already been through all of the freak shit that we've been through. They've been through all of the fucking and the sucking and the nasty stuff and all of those crazy stuff. We don't look at them as have been through that, have gone through that because of our ignorance. Our ignorance makes us think that they got to where they are seamlessly. Like they must have ducked all of the smoke. They must have ran from all of the hurt. They must have gotten through the crowd, went around, took another path around the roadblocks and stuff like that. They must have avoided trouble all of their lives, and that's how they got to be the age that they are. Well, you're wrong. Just like you're going through it, they're going through it. I'm sorry. Just like you're going through it, they've been through it. But they've seen it probably a lot worse than you had. We all think that in our own experiences as we're living it out, we think that we've been through the fire. We think that we've experienced everything that there is out there to experience. And we also always think that we are at the worst point in time. Back in the day, they didn't have to deal. Back in the day, they didn't have. Back in the day, they didn't. Back in the day, they made it back in the day. They didn't have to deal with all this crazy shit that we got to do today. The only thing they didn't have to deal with today is terrible music. And they probably had to deal with that shit too. They probably just didn't have it rammed in their ear holes like we have to deal with today. But if you really think about it, the farther back you go in history in this country, the worse it gets for our people. So why would we think that the elderly don't know what time it is? Now, that's not all of us, because some of us know that the elderly know what time. We know that they know the time. They know the time, son. Oh. We know that they know the time. Some of us recognize, and maybe some of us treat the elderly with respect because we recognize that they have made it through. But that is those of us who understand it, who have that foresight, who get it. We gets it. Grandmama, granddaddy been all through it, you know. So we're talking about the way that you treat children and the elderly. How do you treat children? How do you treat the elderly? Do you treat them the same? Do you look at children as being innocent? Do you look at the elderly as being innocent? See, one thing about the elderly, they may not tell you everything that they went through. Because just like you, they may be a little ashamed of some of the choices that they made. So they don't always tell you what happened. But one of the advantages that the elderly has over us and over children is most of the people who bore witness to what they did ain't here no more. So you're going to have to take their version of events because that's all you going to get. That's all you know, son. That's all you know, son. You ain't getting no more info. You ain't getting no info. That's all you're gonna know. That's all we gonna see. That's all we gonna show. That's how it's gonna be. You gotta take granddaddy word for it. Grandmama, big mama, she told you, yo, my mom. So we're talking about the way that you treat children and the elderly. How do you treat children and the elderly? How do you treat children and the elderly? I think it makes a difference. I think it says a lot about you. Normally, people who treat children well treat the elderly well as well. Is it always like that? I doubt it. I doubt it. Nonetheless, I see a connection. Do y'all see a connection? Do you see? Do you see? Make sure y'all hit that like button. Y'all hit the like button. Hit the like button. Make sure that y'all share the show. Make sure that you subscribe to the channel. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, it is the Urban Therapy with Son show. Urban Therapy with Son show. Today and tomorrow. Urban Therapy with Son show. Today and tomorrow. Don't beg, steal, and borrow. All right. Let me see. Stacy White says, I treat the elderly good, and I took care of my mother and my grandmother. I helped raise my little baby cousins. I love the babies. I just don't want a man with a lot of kids. Funny how you slip that in there, but that's what's up. I hear that. T. Carey Wright says, the way that you treat and behave around your most vulnerable, the way that you treat and act, the way that you treat and behave around our most vulnerable really says something about your character. I agree. I agree. Narciso says, my 93-year-old friend that passed last month got me to see how our paths paralleled. Wow. Same shit, different day. Man, damn, he was 93. I'm sorry that you lost your peoples. You know, when you talk to an old head and they start dropping that shit on you, and you be like, you know, cats nowadays be thinking they invented threesomes and all that old freaky sex stuff. And the elderly will be like, we did everything you talking about in the back of I want to say a Chevy, but I'm going to take it back. We did everything you talking about in the back of a DeSoto. You're like, what's a DeSoto? Don't worry about it. We did everything you talking about in the back of a DeSoto. It was enough room in the back of a DeSoto to do everything you talking about. It was the size of a hotel room. So all that old freak, I mean, y'all think y'all invented all of this old freak stuff. Only difference between what y'all do and what we did was y'all put y'all shit on TV and the internet. We ain't even had porno movies when I was doing it, but we was doing it. And no, it wasn't no records. We ain't had nobody with a video camera taping us. And that's how we were able to do it more often. Yeah. And, you know, you think about the way that we have to deal with racism today. Think about it. The farther we go back in history in this country, the worse it gets for us. Many of our parents and definitely our grandparents were children of slaves, y'all. Well, or close to it. Pretty damn close to it. My grandmother was born in 1921. Sure was. She was born in 1921. My great-grandmother was only a little bit older than her. She had her when she was like 13, 14, no older than that. It wasn't, she had my grandmother when she was young. So when we be talking about teenage pregnancy is new and No, it ain't. No, it ain't. It ain't never been new. News flash. It's time for you to be enlightened. Teenage pregnancy ain't never been a new thing. It's always been old. So, when you take that into consideration, my grandmother and my great grandmother were born in the 1900s. I know maybe my great grandmother, like what if she was what if she had my great grandmother when she was a teenager too? I don't know. They might have all fit into the damn 1900s. What we doing? Nah, I'm just. What we doing? What we doing? Yeah. So, yeah. There isn't really much under the sun that they haven't seen in the way of human behavior, because it rolls over into, generation to generation. It rolls over. It ain't nothing new. It's just something that has either been reported or it hasn't. You ever go back and look at some old newspaper clips? Some of the stories that came, you'd be like, what the fuck? This shit been going on for a minute. Anything in the way of violence is not new. They were way more violent back in the day than they are now. But they didn't have no internet. They didn't have TV. Stuff like that. They didn't have all of the media outlets that would let you know what was going on miles and miles away from wherever you lived. You didn't know what was going on, but it was going on. So locally, the locals knew what was going on. They knew what was up. So yeah, you'll learn some things from children, or you'll be intrigued by things going on with children, such as, the miracle of wonder that they had. And you may experience the miracle of wonder by dealing with the elderly as they put you on. You thinking you teaching them some new fly shit, and they put you on to some existing fly shit that you thought was new. It's new to you. Brand new to you now, ain't it? It's brand new to you now, ain't it? You ain't never seen no shit like this before. We're going to play a song that you never heard before. Let me see. Norris Hill says, he used to say, life is like a ball game. You got to play it fair. It's funny that he used the ball game analogy, because he grew up during the Negro Leagues playing, when the Negro Leagues were playing. What more can you say about that? The Negro Leagues? So you're talking about growing up at a time where black business was flourishing and black athletes were doing for self. But just like today, they needed that validation of the major leagues. They needed the validation of the white man in order for them to feel good about themselves. So they stopped doing for themselves. The Negro Leagues was doper than you can ever imagine. Baseball was not baseball until the Negro Leagues started. They didn't have all of those fancy pitches and shit like that. They didn't have that in Major League Baseball. White guys were not that kind of athlete. They just weren't. They didn't have screwballs. They didn't have the type of fastballs. They didn't have, the pitchers. They just, Satchel Paige brought shit to the game that just didn't exist. And he was a pitcher that could get anybody out, and he could hit. Best baseball player ever lived. He just was. He just was. His legend was real. You know, it wasn't like one of these false legends out here. He wasn't like that Babe Ruth bullshit. That Babe Ruth shit was very, very false. But that Satchel Paige shit was real. It had to be real because the mainstream media was not bigging him up. They wasn't trying to hear that shit. Couldn't beat him, no. Let him into the major leagues when he was like in his 40s. That's the end of most people's careers. So anyway, so your 93-year-old friend, may he rest in peace, or may he flourish in paradise. Let's say that. May he flourish in paradise. He's seen all of that. He was exposed to all of that. He's seen things go from black to white, white to black. He's seen how black things were stolen by white people and renamed, remixed, redone, and how the history, somehow they tried to get rid of it, how they tried to erase it. He's seen all of that. Are we seeing it? Not really. We giving it away. Maybe we gave it away back then too. But it's just a little different. Like I said, the farther back you go in history, the worse it gets for our people. But we treating the elderly like they had it easy. You played it safe. That's why you hear old timer. No, it ain't. That motherfucker been through it. You playing it safe compared to him. Even think about this, y'all. This is something we don't think about a lot. You know, we think a lot about how our ancestors were raped and murdered and whatever. We almost forget about the fact that many of our ancestors were incarcerated. Many of them got put in jail. You know, we be thinking that every time black people had to deal with white people in the legal system, like we didn't survive that. But many of us, you know, went to jail. Can you imagine what jail life had to be like back in the day? I bet you they didn't have cable. I can guarantee you that. I bet you they didn't have all of these visitation hours and they didn't have all of these rights that they have now, or access to all of this education and all of these opportunities that you have when you're in jail now. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that jail is a nice place to go now, but can you imagine what it was like back in the day? Where jail was definitely a place that you went to get to be punished. Wasn't no way around it back in the day. You know, for old head tell you that he did 15, 20 years back in the day. Yeah, from 1950 this to 1970 what? Believe me, he had it hard. And maybe it's our respect for the elderly that makes us treat them as if they don't know things. Yeah, that probably plays a lot into it. You know, when we was younger, we ain't like to be out there being fresh in front of the old heads. So if Miss Mary from up the street saw a boy, kissing on you, sucking on your neck, grinding on you, on your porch or something. She, hey, I'm gonna tell your mother, boy, get your hands off that girl. And why you over there letting that boy be fresh with you? Don't think it's because Miss Mary ain't never been fresh. Don't think that. Miss Mary knew where this story was going. That's all. That's all. Miss Mary knew where your actions were going to lead you. Miss Mary ain't want to see you with the baby out here. When she saw that boy sucking on your neck, shoot, that might have been a trigger for Miss Mary. Miss Mary might have been like, Russell. I remember Russell. Russell. Yeah. So we treated Miss Mary with respect. It ain't that Miss Mary ain't never seen no kissing or no loving or no hugging or no sex. It ain't got nothing to do with that. You give Miss Mary some respect because you should be giving her respect because she knows what it is. Not because she's ignorant, like, oh my God, they were freaking. Shit. Our old heads had all them damn kids back in the day. What you think? They all got here by stork? Or did you think that they didn't have nasty sex? They just had regular sex. You can tell that old heads had nasty sex back in the day by the way the kids looked. Anyway, look. This is the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. I'm your host, Sun752. We are talking about the way that you treat children and the elderly. If you would like to call into the show, add your 2 cents, tell a story, ask a question, make a comment, I invite you to call in. And the number to call is area code 319-527-6199. Once again, the number to call is area code 319-527-6199. Press number 1, and that will let me know that you would like to speak, and then I will call you out by the last 4 digits of your telephone number. You can rock on it, do the damn thing. It is the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. So let's rock, y'all. Non-stop, y'all. So I believe that there is some type of correlation between the way that you treat children and the way that you treat the elderly. So Crazy Twa says, I can't with you right now. You know what? Because I can tell just by what you just said that Miss Mary, the Miss Mary in your life caught you being fresh. So Crazy Twa, listen. You can admit it. You can admit it. You know, when let me give him a name. Let me give him a name. When Hassan, you know, where all the old heads had a hard time saying his name. When Hassan, you know, gave you that passion mark on your on the porch. And you said that he was only telling you a secret in your ear, like she ain't got eyes and shit. Miss Mary knew where it was going. You better stop Hassan from doing his best Dracula impression. That's what you need to do. Hassan must be stopped. Hassan must be stopped. Word. Somebody do something about Hassan. Sucking on that girl's neck. She's so young. She's so young. Young, just young. We have a caller on the line. Caller with the last numbers 4828. Welcome to the Urban Therapy with Sun Show. Thank you for holding. Wait a minute. Hold on. Thank you for holding. What's on your mind right now?
Okay. So what's on my mind is how you can tell that they had nasty sex by the way the kids look. I need you to explain that to me. Now,
okay.
and I'm driving, so I don't want to crash, but I need you to explain that to me.
Listen. Now,
I need you to explain it.
If you think about it, back in the day, as opposed to now, back in the day, mothers and fathers would have an upwards of 8 children, 8 or more. That was common, right? Have you ever noticed that all of the children had individual characteristics? Like none of them looked all the same. You see children children of today who have the same mother and same father, they all be looking identical. The children back in the day all look different.
No, that's not necessarily true. I mean, I come from a very large family.
Mm-hmm.
My father's was one of 9. My mother's one of 6. My great-grandmother was one of 11 children.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody, they're like different shades or whatever, like different variations, but we all look, on my mother and father's side, everybody looks very much alike.
Oh, yeah? So they were like different.
I know,
you said
I know there was some nasty sex going on. Like, I know for a fact.
Okay. But you did say that they had different shades, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. So so let me
Well, I need you to tell me what the nasty sex shade is.
Well, I wasn't there in the bedroom with them to see the nasty sex, but they have been proven. It's been proven by scientists that if you have sex in certain positions, then you can get light-skinned kids, or you can get brown-skinned kids, or even dark-skinned kids coming right out of a red bone. It's been proven. So, like, so them being fully aware of this, you could tell that there was some genetic engineering going on. So, it was like, so you wonder how come you wonder how come Aunt Angie is so much lighter than everybody else. And mom was dark skinned, dad was brown skinned, and Aunt Angie is straight red bone. Well,
so you said Aunt Angie was the nasty sex baby?
No, it means it means that mommy and daddy had sex buck style. It means that they had sex buck style, and that's how you get a red bone child.
Oh. Okay.
So, that I mean, it is what it is. It is what it is. But that's why the children look different. Same mama, same daddy, allegedly, but they all look different. None of them had the same careers. They all did different shit. You know what I mean? Nowadays, one brother sells drugs, all the brothers sell drugs. They didn't do that back in the day. It had a lot to do with the nasty sex that they was having. But I'm not trying to focus on that. I'm just trying to let you know that Miss Mary knew what time it was. Miss Mary knew what time it was. She knew that Russell sucking on Sucre Jatoire's neck was going to lead to a baby being born. She knew there was nothing that, I mean, you almost don't even have to witness sex in order for that to happen. I mean, in order to come into that knowledge, it's like, well, she had these red marks on her neck talking about she got bit by a mosquito. Like, was the mosquito about 160 pounds, 5'11", named Russell? Lived around the corner, lived around Locust Street. So, but anyway, so, but since I have you on the line, Do you see a correlation between the way that people treat children and the way that they treat the elderly? Do you think that there are some similarities in their treatment of one or the other, or do you think that it can be different?
I think it depends on that person's age. Somebody in their 40s and above, they're just not going to treat the elderly disrespectfully. They're not. And those same people will may or very often treat our children with a condescending tone.
Mm-hmm.
That's just from what I noticed. Usually people older than 40, like in their 60s and above, will be condescending toward children and then very respectful toward the elderly. Between 35 and 60, they'll be more compassionate toward folks. And these young people today, I don't know what to say about them. I see them cursing out their kids in the supermarket.
Yeah.
Cursing out old people, like, what you looking at? Old head, and or even on the trolley, where, like, growing up, we would be on public transportation, and you knew damn well not to curse around, somebody was old on the bus.
Yeah.
We didn't have trolleys in New York. You
Right.
just didn't do it. And if you did, somebody turned around and said, "Yo, watch your mouth."
Right.
These days, they'll say anything and everything loudly and proudly. And if you dare say, "Yo, watch your mouth," they're like, "Yo," like, now they want to fight whoever's told them to be respectful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it really depends on the age range. I find that people under 35 and under, and really, I'm trying to be nice and not say 40 and under, but 35 and under don't give a good goddamn about, our children or our elderly. They don't have the same level of respect and care that we had. They just don't.
Well, I don't know. I think those of us who do, and those of us who don't, and maybe we're a little overexposed to those who don't seem to take a lot of care into that. But you also have to take into consideration that we are in the internet age, and even when we witness things in person, it's still very much influenced by the internet. We have to keep that in mind constantly. You know what I'm saying? It's almost like we aren't our true selves anymore. It's almost like that.
But it's at the point. It's at the point where when you do see someone who takes time and care with the child or with the elderly, you're looking at them like you're in awe of them.
Yeah. And
I'm not. I know that we are. At the start and the end of our day, we're more concerned with the Black community. But this problem is way beyond just the Black community.
Yeah.
And I think it started with the white community because white people were notorious for being disrespectful and to their parents, to their grandparents, just because they felt like whatever. Their feelings were more valid in that moment, and to the point where we would make jokes about, yeah, that's white people shit. Now it's not just white people shit. It's no longer just white people shit. Now we're doing the dumb shit too.
Yeah. I think that we were probably always doing the dumb people shit, really, because everything had to start from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But we can't discount the influence of our multimedia sources. You know what I mean? And so when I say that we may not be our real selves because of the influence that multimedia has over us, we may not be the selves that we probably would have been had we not been overexposed to a lot of this stuff. Whenever I hear somebody around my age talking about Cardi B and yeah, she doing it and she getting it and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yo, get the fuck out of here with that. You know what I'm saying? Because, you know, when we was growing up and creating hip hop, we wasn't glorifying that. Like, nah. You wasn't sitting around saying like, yo, MC Light is dope, but she would really be all that if she start talking more about fucking and sucking and robbing niggas and shooting motherfuckers and all that. Yeah, that's what's missing from Light lyrics. You know what I mean? So for you to have evolved to the point where you can see the benefit in her talking about stripping on a pole, getting niggas high, drunk, robbing them, you know, cheating on them like they cheat on you, treating them like they treat you, and all of that. That influence has to have come from somewhere. And as we move closer to becoming the new senior citizens, you know, we're going to have to take certain things into consideration about the concern about how we're going to be treated by our young, you know, because the same way that we may be taking care of the elderly, really taking care of them, like doing right by them and trying to make them as comfortable as possible, make them happy as possible. Somebody is going to have to do that with us, for us, in 20 years or so. And some of us need that now. You know, you have people who are sick. If you are sick, you basically are the same as an elderly person that doesn't get around as much as well as they used to, needs a little assistance. So what's the difference between an elderly person who just had a hip transplant or hip surgery, and they have to use a walker in order to strengthen their legs and their walking ability again, and you who just was in a bad accident, who doesn't have the mobility that you used to have, and you're 50 years old? What's the difference? It's not that much of a difference. Y'all pretty much doing the same thing.
I learned that. Yeah, I learned that when I was in a car accident and I couldn't walk. But it's like, wow, now this is it. That's when you find out what's really real. But I wanna say that I don't agree with you when you say that you think that well, you can think what you think, but I don't agree that we were always doing dumb shit. I'm sorry, but you know, Black people had a higher standard as far as the way that they treated their parents, the way that they treated their children, you know, the babies and the elderly.
Okay.
We were not wilding out when it came to the way that we treated our elderly and the way that we treated our babies.
Mm-hmm.
And I really do feel like the media and the white community, I don't think the white community likes being singled out for the mistreatment of their children and the mistreatment of their elderly.
So
I think certain influences were purposeful,
and they may have been, and that's why I always talk about the internet and multimedia and stuff like that, because we can see more than we ever would have seen before. We can hear about what happened over in San Diego, up in Seattle, in St. Paul, in Minneapolis, and down south, Mobile, Alabama, and places like that. We can see it. But I'm gonna tell you. But let me ask you this: you probably know adults, mothers and fathers, who are always short with their children. You know, every time the child asks something, it's like, oh God, you know what I mean? They may accommodate them, yeah, but their main goal is to get them out of the way, get them out of their face. They don't It's not that they don't take care of their children. It's not that they don't provide for them, but they don't have the patience for their children the way that children need patience, need for adults to be patient with them. They don't respect their learning process. They almost treat their children as if they are slow to learn, or like they should have already have known the things that they haven't been taught yet.
Yeah.
I don't think that that's a new thing. A lot of times with our people, oh, by the way, I consider that to be a form of abuse. I consider that to be abusive. It's a form of neglect, because children are very impressionable. And when you keep blowing them off and letting them know that you don't want them or care for them to keep coming around and exercising their inquisitiveness that most children have, then they stop. They're embarrassed.
Right.
And so that stunts their growth. That stunts their learning potential. That stops them from exploring. It stops them from sharing what they have explored. And that can take them to very dark places. That's not a new thing. Children being physically abused is definitely not a new thing. It almost seems like it's safer to say that the recognition of what child abuse is newer than the abuse itself. Our grandparents talk about being whooped like they were dogs, like they were livestock. Extension cords. When was the last time you heard of somebody, a child these days being beat with an extension cord?
Well, don't ask me that question. I'm an educator, so I'm
all right.
a SAP caseworker, so I hear that story way more often than you think.
Okay. But if we're going to take into, I'm sorry, because I'm going to forget if I don't say it, if you don't mind. I don't mind. Go ahead.
Okay. So if we're going to say, we have to take into account the influence of social media, then we also have to think about how patience has been lost through the amount of responsibility that's being put on single fathers or single mothers. When a child is growing up in a single parent household, that definitely affects how that parent now interacts with their child.
Okay.
And I'm not saying that there weren't single parent households when we were growing up, but they were much less, because there was a standard of what, of family, and even if it was temporary, there were more often than not two parent, households.
How do you know that?
I'm sorry?
How do you know that?
How do I know what?
That there were less that there were more two-parent homes back in the day than there are now?
Because I asked the elderly.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Okay. Like I said, I'm not saying that there were not any.
Well, I'm just saying, it's funny because I had a conversation with my dad recently, maybe a couple of months ago, whatever, and he held that same theory. Like his thing is, when welfare came along, it pushed the black father out of the household and all of that. And I was like, oh yeah, okay, well, all right. So he seems to believe that there were more two-parent households than there are nowadays. And I'm not saying that that's not true, but I think that the way that the narrative of the story just doesn't seem to hold up. So I asked him, I said, okay, all right, if we're going to say that welfare, the social worker come into the black household and see and if they see any evidence of a man being in the house, then they would cut the check off. If we're going to say that pushed the black man out of the household, as if the black man was doing everything that he was supposed to do before then to stay in the household. First of all, I'm trying to figure out, well, I asked him, I said, well, Dad, if a black father is in the home and he's working, doing whatever he's supposed to do, why do we have a social worker coming to the house for welfare? He was stumped.
Yeah, I don't agree with that.
Okay, you know, hold on, I'm not done.
Black man's in the household or not?
Hold on, I'm not done. So he was.
I agree with you on that.
Yeah, well, he was stumped. He was stumped with that. Okay, so let's go to the let's. Then I asked him about him. I said, okay. I said, Dad, who were you raised by? He said, my maternal grandparents. I said, oh, okay. Why weren't you raised by your mom? Why weren't you raised by your dad? Both of them were alive, but they both went up north. And they weren't with each other either. So you had a living mama and a living daddy, but you had to be raised by your maternal grandparents. Okay. So I took it a little bit further. Were you the only child that you knew that shared that experience? Or did all of your other friends, cousins, and whatever have fathers in their household? And he kept it a buck. He said, no, I wasn't the only one. I said, huh, very interesting. And you grew up in a small town down south, down North Carolina, huh? He said, yeah. Well, what do you think was going on in New York and Philly and Chicago? Like, yeah, maybe down south, there were a few cases in small places where there weren't two-parent households, but up there in the city where it's much easier to survive, and you know what I mean, where it's much calmer. I'm sure there were all mamas and daddies in those households, especially in the projects and all of those buildings. I don't know. It doesn't add up to me. I don't think that this single parent household thing is a new thing. I just don't think so. I don't think so. I think our knowledge, I think they started counting more as we went on. I think they started keeping count. I don't think they was keeping count back in the day. I just don't think so.
Well, okay. So it's not just that there's only one parent in the household. Mm-hmm. Like you said, back in the day, your dad grew up, he was raised by his maternal grandparents. There are a lot of different factors that are on the table when you're talking about, there only being one parent in the household. Back when I was growing up, if the parent was not the main provider, one of the natural parents, then grandparents would swoop in, or aunts and uncles would swoop in. Like family would swoop in. There was a support system. There was more of a support system than we seem to have these days. Now you have grandmothers who are like, I'm not raising any more babies. I'm not helping out. You better find somebody, so and so. We have more Black children in the foster care than we ever have before. So there's a lot of factors. We have this narrative that you don't need a man. You don't even need the other fucking parent. You don't even need the parent. Mm-hmm. So now whoever that parent is that's in the household, they have a certain level of life stresses on them that they are unfortunately imposing on their relationship with their children. Mm-hmm.
It's funny.
There is a relief that comes from having a support system at home, whether it's a one or two parent household. And with the absence of that, the mindset of these parents now is just different. Mm-hmm. They seem to be resentful of their children, and I think that's why they don't have as much patience with their children, and that's unfortunate.
Okay, well, when you talk about the foster care system, I don't think that as many foster care. I don't think foster care was available back in the day on the level that it is now. Because, it wasn't making as much money back then as it is now. It wasn't getting the funding back then that it's getting now. Everything is so money oriented. And when you brought up, these women out here running around talking about, I don't need no man or whatever. I link that directly to the internet, directly, because the emphasis now.
Nope.
Well, I'm telling you why.
Nope.
I'm telling you.
Okay. No. You have to listen. That is not the internet. That is white feminists. White feminists before even the internet have been scooping some of us up and planting that damn seed in our heads way before the internet. Mm-hmm. And all the internet did was say, look, everybody. But that seed was already planted.
Wait, that's all. That's all the internet did was spread it to the rest of the world, so they could see when they wouldn't have seen that before.
They made it. Listen, that seed. All I'm saying is that seed was already planted. The internet did not do that.
Well, the seed
internet did not do that.
Yes, the internet did do it. Yes, okay. it did do it.
I don't agree.
Now you can say, I mean, we can disagree on that, but I agree that the seed was already planted, but the internet allowed it to grow into a tree. It ain't a seed no more. Nobody fears a seed, but that tree.
No.
Okay. Well,
the internet. How about this? There was already a garden planted. There was already a garden there. You know this. There was already a garden there. And there were flowers blooming. There were women. Out in the workforce, demanding equality for this, that, and the other. It started with that. They were like, "Oh, can you believe that they're making more money than us?" And so it started out with attacking, gathering up women and saying, these men are making more than us. These men, they won't give us jobs that meant they'll give, to men and things like that. And just pointing out the inequality in that manner. and then, so those flowers were already blooming. So yeah, they are definitely trees now because of the internet. But they were already blooming. So
first they planted the seed. So first they planted the seed, but now they had the flowers going.
I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm saying you're saying that now there's a forest. Yes, now there's a forest. There's trees. There's flowers.
I said flowers. I said flowers because you said flowers. Listen. I'm not saying that what you're saying is wrong. I'm not saying that feminists didn't play a part in this, but not all the women that I know. Matter of fact, most of the women that I know who take the I don't need no man stance, that stance, they are not feminists. But what they are women who have been scorned and who have been left to raise their children on their own, and they're also women who have, because of social media,
90 seconds
have been exposed to the belief that a man is really only good for whatever his bank account holds. So when men through the internet have been reduced to what they can bring to the table financially, then we have the I don't need no man movement flourishing. And the internet definitely gave us that, especially when you start talking about the black man. Now, the other men, I don't really see white women running around here talking about I don't need no man. I'm sure that there are some, but not at the rate or the concern that I see. What the fuck? What, nobody knows I do this? Not at the rate or concern that I see black women doing it. And I know where black women got this shit from, because we'll as a people, we'll repeat almost anything we see on TV or hear on the radio. So yeah, part of the biggest pitfall of raising children alone is the financial part of it. People talk about all the time. You hear people who don't have children talk all the time about how expensive it is to raise kids. Like, you know that there are other reasons that they didn't have children, but they'll tell you, oh shoot, it's expensive to have kids. You know what I mean? I don't see how people do it, blah, 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 blah. It ain't that expensive to have kids. But it's time consuming. It's definitely that. And when you don't have the expenses to split up, nor the time to split up, it's going to make it very hard on you, and it can make you very resentful also. And the internet is fraught and fortified with resentment. You know, you only a timeline. You're only a timeline in a news feed away from anything negative that you might be thinking. No new friends. Men ain't shit. All men are dogs. Bitches ain't shit. If you ain't got no money, these women don't care about you. Blah 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 blah. And not all women feel that way, but the internet will feed that. It feeds that monster. So even if you weren't on your way to feeling that way, they're going to give you enough fuel and enough proof to say, It's almost like it's a struggle for some women to not take on that narrative about, I don't need to not take on the narrative of, needing a man or the money part. So, like, I'm not going to say that the internet is 100% responsible for women feeling like they don't need no man, but it plays a big part. You hear it in the music, and the music is on the internet. People, I mean, when was the last time you bought a CD? Most people out here ain't bought an album in over 10 years. Everything is download, and if it's download, that's internet. So if the music that you're discovering is on the internet, the videos that you see are on the internet, well then, and the memes that you are influenced by, those memes that you be like, oh, so true, facts. That's right. I know that's right. Yeah, a lot of those things be negative shit. A lot of that shit be negative, and not negative because it's not reality. There is some reality to it, but when you start getting a healthy or unhealthy dose of negative energy, well, then now you start talking in different ways than you had been talking before. So let's try to bring this full circle. When we start talking about the way that some people treat their children, if you're short with your children, if you're at a point where it seems like you're always trying to get your children out of your face, or like you're not treating them as if they ever do anything right, or like they're not listening to whatever you have taught them, or they're going against your training, and they seem to be rebelling against everything that you are doing for them. You may have some contribution to it, but you may not recognize your contribution to it, but it will have effects. It will have effects. And until you turn that around, they won't turn that around. Children are naturally rebellious once they get into their adolescent stage, and a lot of them just want to get out of the way, and they may be wanting to get out of the way of you. But if you treat children that way, there's probably, I'm not going to say definitely there, but there's probably a good chance that elderly who may not know what they want to eat all the time, or what they want to do, or have trouble communicating what's on their mind, or what they want, or whatever. You may be a little short with them too. Like, okay, Miss Mary, okay. However, if you're getting paid for it, it might make it a little easier. But if you're not getting paid for it, you may opt to send them to a nursing home. Well, I wanted to take my mom in or my dad in, but I'm just so busy. I'm so busy, and they wouldn't really be comfortable at home, in my home and all that kind of shit. Yeah, I mean, basically, what you're saying is, I don't really have time to be making time for that. The same way that you may not have time to be making time for your own children, and that's not to say that you're not there for your children, but being present or having your children around you is worthless if the time that they are spending around you is all makeup time, all discipline time, all sucking your teeth and rolling your eyes and stomping your feet and oh my God, not again time. It ain't a good look. It ain't a good look, and you will feel the effects of that, especially when they grow up and make a rap album about you, and it ain't. I always love my mama. You know what I mean? Like, I can't believe my baby Eminem'd me. Shit. Even Eminem feels bad about that shit. He even apologized, like, damn, man. Every time I listen to them records back in the day, it be killing me. Yeah.
Now, let me ask you a question. Do you think that the fact that family support systems have decreased substantially plays a part on how some people treat the elderly and the children?
Okay. When we start talking about the Black family, we have to try to identify a time when we had support. You know what I mean? I know we talk about it a lot, and we have bore witness to when we supported each other, like, when one of us may have gotten our utilities cut off and we helped each other out, provided electricity and water or heaters or whatever, hot plate or something like that. We may, and when we ate over each other's houses and things like that. Yeah, I think that there were some strengths of our struggle that we elected to try to reduce. I mean, we didn't try to reduce the strengths, but the strength of our struggle, we tried to reduce those strengths. I do believe that. And I hate to go back to the internet again, but remember back in the day, we had to go out and see our neighbors. We at least had to pick up the phone and call them. You know what I mean? But right. we would talk to each other. Not everybody had a car, so we would drive each other. We had, in places where there were porches and backyards and stuff like that, we sat and we talked to each other. We weren't always in love with each other, but we had to go out in order to see each other. Right now, we can FaceTime. But you understand what I'm saying. You know what I'm saying?
I do. We have more interactions. You have more. We have more people willing to help, even if that help was just us being able to talk about life's frustrations.
Yeah.
So I'm asking, do you think that the fact that has substantially decreased? Because it seems like to me, everybody's at this alpha self, and so there's not that community hug, that family hug that I grew up with.
Yeah.
Everybody's just me, and I feel like that has definitely played a part in the way that people are treating their elderly, and people, the way that these youngins are talking to their kids in private and in public.
Okay.
And how some people around a certain age they will justify that behavior like it's okay. So I think that it has I think it has certainly played a part in it, just like the internet has played a part in it, just like feminism has played a part in it, just like there's several factors.
Okay. Well, let me ask you, and I think I agree with what you're saying. let me ask you this. We can point to a number of factors that gave women this "I don't need a man" type of attitude. What led men to the, women, all women ain't shit, or bitches ain't nothing but bitches and hoes? What led them to that? What do you think?
I'm not a man. You would be able to tell me, not me. I can't tell you that.
Well. So what I'm saying is, I think that if we have evidence, or we have some type of idea of where women may have gotten their stance from, then I think that we have to take on the responsibility of figuring out where the other half came from. Now, I ain't gonna front. I never thought about all bitches ain't shit or hoes and all that kind of stuff until the West Coast started making records and start saying it. East Coast rappers didn't talk like that. They just didn't.
Yes, they did.
No, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
Okay, name them.
Yes, they did. They didn't say bitches and hoes.
Mm-hmm.
But they did insert, lines in some of the songs saying that you can't trust women, things like that. They weren't using bitches and hoes. The West Coast came out like real hard with it. Like, we're not going to dance around this subject. But East Coast rappers most certainly did say that you couldn't trust women.
Oh yeah? Name a song.
I'll pull it up for you.
Okay.
On your next show, I'll call in and I'll tell you.
Okay. Well, here's going to be here's where the significance. Here's where the significance of whenever you pull that song up is going to come from.
Okay.
The significance is going to be the year of that song. So let me give you a little spoiler alert. Do not search for any songs that came out after 1987. None. Because you're going to lose horribly.
Do you have your computer in front of you? Can you look it up?
No, because I'm not going to look it up because I'm already ready. Why would I help my opponent win? I'm going to beat you. So what I'm saying with this exercise, you're my opponent. Stop trying to make nice. I'm beating you down right now. So no. Only thing I'm saying is this. I never felt that way through the music until I heard groups like NWA actually saying that. You know what I mean? All bitches ain't shit. Years later, Snoop Dogg backed that up with bitches ain't nothing but hoes and tricks and all that kind of stuff. We didn't feel that way. Even on the streets. Guys that I knew, when we had discussions about girls and stuff like that, that's not how we felt. Now we knew a slimy chick that was fucking all of us or whatever, or burning everybody, whatever. That's what it was. But even with that, like you take in the year 1986 when Just Ice came out with That Girl Is a Slut. He didn't say all girls were sluts. He said that one was. You understand what I'm saying? The West Coast, it was like they had a vested interest in you looking at all women like that. We just didn't do it that way. And I'm sure they had their reasons for doing it, and which were all commercial reasons, and it worked. But it worked so negatively on our psyche that now it's hard for us to shake it off. You understand what I mean? So that's all I'm saying. Like, influence comes in a lot of different forms. If it wasn't for West Coast music and stuff like that, we wouldn't, all this Bloods and Crips stuff like that. You're not going to tell me that stuff would have had a chance to flourish throughout the country beyond the West Coast the way it did. But now you have these You have these artists out here glorifying. I'm a blood. I'm a Crip. I'm throwing up my rag. It wasn't like that. It just wasn't. It wasn't like that. But the influence is strong. It's strong. And interestingly enough, now they're not saying that all bitches, women are hoes and bitches. They're not saying that. Now they saying, yeah, girl, get on that pole. Do your damn thing. Don't let nobody judge you. I'm like, what the fuck are we doing? Now a hoe can't even be a hoe. Like, I mean, they got the game in a tailspin. Now, the hoes that's the women that's doing hoe shit. No, she ain't no hoe. She getting money. I'm like, what? But yeah, getting money. So now we are at the point where anything that generates revenue is okay. We give a pass to anything that's getting money. So your baby dad, he might spend time and all of that. He gets credit for being a good dad, but this motherfucker not coming through with no cash. So it's time for me to call the man on his ass. Now, of course, not all women feel that way. But I tell you what Judge Mathis will tell you to do. You better go see the man on this motherfucker. But hey, it is what it is. Listen, I want to thank you exponentially for calling in. And even though you were my opponent, I still consider you to be a friend. And I appreciate you mucho.
I don't even know you. Well, okay.
And I don't know you worse. And next time you call in, I'm really not going to know you. I'm working on it. Yeah, I'm saying.
All
right. Take care.
It is great. Thank you.
All right.
You too.
All right, y'all. We have some birthday shout outs to do. Some people were born on this glorious May 8th, and they deserve to be acknowledged. So let's go about our business of acknowledging them and making them feel special because they are special, because they are special, because they are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They are S-P-E-C-I-A-L. They get the R-E-S-P-E-C-T. They get number one out the box, Kai Schoolfield. Happy birthday to you, Kai. And also CC Jennings turning 35 years old today. And Bertha Peters turning 71 years old today. Her name is Bertha Peters. That's a good 71-year-old name. Go ahead, Bert. Go ahead, B. And also Ruth Sterling Metellus turning 27 years old today. And Kim Clark, happy birthday to you. And my girl from the Penn State 1992. Her name is Kana Rockman. Happy birthday to you. And last but not least, my cuz, one of my faves too, Yolanda Neal. Yolanda Neal turning 54 years old today. 54 years old today. Yo, how you do? And what you say? Happy birthday, cuz. Love you to death. I want to say happy birthday to all of you and anyone else out there who shares this birthday on this glorious May 8th, anywhere out there in the world, worldwide, internationally, and universally. All of y'all go ahead and turn up, but don't turn up too loud. Just turn up loud enough so everybody can hear you. Rock out, rock on and do the damn to rock out, rock on and do the damn rock out, rock on and do the damn thing. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. You do your thing, y'all. Represent the queens and kings. Good things happen to those who wait. Great things happen to those who grind, and anything can happen to those who go for theirs. So go hard, go for yours, and remember, man, listen, I want to thank y'all first of all, straight up. You know what I mean? It wasn't many of y'all today, but y'all came through, y'all represented, and I hope that y'all received the info like I was trying to give it out there, and I hope that y'all got something out of this the way I was trying to put something into this. When we talk about the way that we treat elderly and children and elderly, the old and the young and the old, it says a lot about us. It's a reflection of where we've come from and where we're going to be eventually if we keep living. You know, when we're young, we're impressionable and we're needy. We need someone to take care of us. We haven't learned enough to be able to guide ourselves and be out there and walk on our own and be able to maintain. And when you reach an elderly age, the farther you go, you're going to need assistance. You're going to need help. You're going to need health insurance. You know, children get sick a lot too. Some children get sick a lot when they're young, and they need their moms and dads, their parents to nurse them back to health and to make sure that they attend their doctor visits and things like that, get regular routine checkups. Same thing with the elderly. With the elderly, you have to be cognizant of your health status. You have to know exactly what's going on with you, because you don't have a whole lot of life in front of you the way that you had when you were a young child. You know, so you have to make sure that you have the resources that are available to keep you afloat and keep you happy and healthy, wealthy, and wise. So keep that take that into consideration when you're yelling at children or when you're treating the elderly like they are a burden or whatever, because believe me, you were one before and you'll be the other one if you keep on going. I want to send a shout out to all the moms out there. Happy Mother's Day. If I don't speak to you tomorrow, y'all do the damn thing, man. Y'all are the mothers of the earth. And y'all are directly responsible for the way that we are guided through this world. So hats off to y'all. I love all of y'all. I love what y'all do. I love what y'all represent. So happy Mother's Day in advance. And I'll get with y'all tomorrow. Peace to all my day ones, my everydays, and my brand news. I love y'all to death, resuscitate you, and love you right back to life. All right, get down. Man, this greedy ass. You ain't no mother. Get out of here. Get out of here. All right, y'all. So let me get my blog talkers up out of here. Where's my mouse? Oh, there you go, mouse. There you go, mouse. Peace. Peace, Blog Talk. And for my Instagram, it's 5slammerjammer. God damn.
Thank you for using Blog Talk Radio.
Appreciate it.
Goodbye.
And for my YouTubers, y'all know what it is. Don't forget to share the show. Still not too late to hit the like button. And make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Holla. Peace.